while I'm putting up the pieces, anybody have questions? Everything clear about our team of Blitzkrieg? Fast, quick, principle of rapid development, okay? So here, the title of this lesson is Principles of Rapid Development, by the way, okay? So here, then my next game, I finished this game in just 15 moves when my opponent had to resign. And I was white. And my opponent is again in 1900 and chess.com. Matisse Ryan Rousseau. Very beautiful last name, Rousseau. I believe that's a philosopher, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, right? So, from Canada. There you go. Game went, I was white, e4, c6. d4, d5. And here, we have several choices here, class. We have knight c3, knight d2. We have e5, or the advanced variation. We even have capture, pawn takes, and we play c4, the Panov-Botvinnik attack. Okay? What is the best in the position? I think all of those that I mentioned are playable, and it depends on your style, on how you proceed in the early part of the game. So here I decided to play knight d2. Okay. Later on, I will explain the difference between knight d2 and knight c3. Black recaptures, captures on e4. White recaptures. Okay, and he played the Bronstein move, knight f6. Now, again, we're still in the principle of rapid development. Okay, and do not waste time. If you're white here, with that in mind, what should you play? Your knight is under threat, correct? If you withdrew, that means you're backing out from a fight. That's cowardly. Very good. So instead of wasting a tempo on backward move, why not capture here? And the other move I will show you later, which was played by Richard Reti. Here, I captured the knight, inflicting a double pawn on black, whichever he recaptures, whether by the e pawn or by the g pawn. So here, the dynamic way to capture is with the g pawn. The reason why I call it dynamic, because it gives black an open g file, correct? Well, strategically, it's better to capture with this pawn. The reason you keep your pawn's island only 2, right? And after bishop, you can castle. You seem like to have a very safe place for your king. Now, dynamic because he created an imbalance in the position black. There are 3 islands, 1, 2, and 3. But it gives him the g file in case white castles here, right? But the king on e8 seems like a very lonely person there. It will probably be under attack because the cover are kind of compromised in some way, right? So after g f6, white continue with knight f3. My opponent played bishop g4. The idea is he wants to play e6, but he has to bring the bishop out first, out of the pawn chain, so it won't be blocked. Bishop g4. Okay, rapid development. What's your move? Bishop e2. Rapid development. Okay, deployment of your forces. e6 was played. Okay, rapid development. How should we continue? Bishop f4 is playable, but I believe the bishop is not yet needed there for the moment. So here is another good rule of thumb. Even though a piece is good in one place, if it's not required by the position yet, you want to hold back. It could be useful in other area of the board sooner or later. For the meantime, what is necessary in the position here? Pure white. It's very important to you for you to follow the other principle of opening play, not just rapid development, not just control the center, but the third and probably the most important one is king safety. Castle. Okay. Castle. Is this what we call castling into it? Because look, our opponent have the g file. It looks dangerous, right? But let's see. Looks are deceiving in chess. It's not what they seem sometimes, just like in life. Everything is deceptive. Sometimes things are illusionary, right? Yes. So let's see. What I'm saying is, I'm challenging what? Come here, show me. I'm from Missouri. Show me that this is really a bad place for my king. Okay, so after castle, he played bishop d6. Okay, here goes the arm, and it start pointing to this direction. Now, if you're white here, you probably start feeling uneasy. H1 is no problem. You can always go to the corner. According to Richard Reti, the safest place for the king is in the corner. Right? But there's no threat yet to bring the king there, so let's proceed with the rest of the army creating threats. So here, what we have to understand is in the initial stage of the game, black surrendered a center pawn, correct? We have to understand white's next move. And by surrendering the center pawn, it's only white having a control of the center here for the moment. He has a 1 in the 4th rank, right? The surrender of d to e4 rendered this d5 a little bit weak. Okay, now how do we take advantage of that when he captured with this pawn? Now there's no pawn guarding there on the 4th rank. We are the one in the 4th rank. So the white bishop doesn't have a good place to go. Our bishop f4 is ruled out now, right? No more bishop f4. Bishop h6 is probably illusionary because the threat bishop g7, you're just inviting rook to come there with tempo. So what else do we have in the position? Maybe rook e1, a quiet little move. It only becomes very strong if black captures the knight and the bishop we capture. We have an open file, which black will not do. Right? Black will not give in to what you want him to do in the position. No. So it's not needed there.
C4.
So we have to create a tension on the center of the board.
On the c4.
C4.
Let's play c4. Now, the idea could, you could advance d5 or you can threaten c5. And those kind of idea, you're creating play for you. If you're running out of idea, try to create them. Right? And sometimes we find ourselves in a wall. Okay, how do I proceed from here? I need my coach help. Right? But you have to create a play. So here, c4, introduce two ideas. Maybe d5 and maybe c5. Okay, black continue his development with knight to d7. Okay, now here he is serious. He will play f5. He will play knight f6. And the knight will go to e4, and that will become very strong. So for the meantime, let's now ask the question to the bishop. Okay, what are your intentions here? h3. He played bishop h5. Because if he captures, I will be happy because one of my plan is to put the rook on e1, right? But he did not, it's very hard, difficult customer, this guy. So he played bishop h5. After bishop h5, what should we do here? And this is the point where I'm running out of idea. How do I proceed? So good thing I played c4 from the previous move because your next move is connected most of the time to your previous move. Okay, remember that? I always say that in my class, that your moves in a chess game should be connected with one another. There cannot be any abstract move in the chess game, right? From out of the blue. No, they are interconnected. So here, our previous move was c4. Our next move is d5, destroying the center, because if he opens up, the king will be finding itself lack of shelter on either side of the board.
Yeah, take
So this is a good move. You agree? Yes, blasting the position open, creating an incident right there on the center. America is known for that, creating incidents. So d5, right? Queen c7, because the threat is captured either way and the bishop will be left and free, undependent. So queen c7 was played. After queen c7, okay. How should you recapture if you're white here, class? again, with my rule of thumb earlier, if you have two choices, you capture
Towards this.
towards the king. Somebody is listening to the class. Towards the king. Although this looks also good to capture, but this is the better approach. But somebody will ask, don't you straighten up his pawn structure? Why did you do that? Because it is the demand of the position. Right? After we capture here, now what we have? A softening of the king's cover. He said, but it's okay, I'm one move away from castling, I will be safe. However, we have a one move that cannot be not checked. It has to be dealt with by black. After knight d4, there is a threat on the pawn. There is a threat on the bishop. Maybe he wished he had captured earlier that knight. That knight suddenly become a beast of burden. Bishop f7. Okay, it seems like, okay, I'm one move away from being safe. But we will follow him even to the gates of hell. Right? And we will thrust it into him right there. So that he cannot castle because the bishop will be and free. Alright, so he said, the correct move here is either knight f8, depending, of course it's ugly, or knight c5, but there's b4 later on, right? Instead he said, let me centralize my knight.
Yeah.
But it was a blunder, because after knight takes pawn, you see the knight takes pawn, it cannot be captured because of the pin. The queen is under threat. He cannot castle anymore. The queen has to move, and here, my opponent resigned. Because after queen d7 or queen e7, either way, the knight check here is devastating. If king d8, there's c5. If king f8, the bishop suddenly arrives just in time. And you see, black has nothing to do but just to throw in the towel. Resign. Let's see the game that inspired me. Another classic game I would like to show you, and I will conclude with this next game. Okay? Anybody have questions on this game of mine? This is my game on chess.com. So let's proceed to the classic game that inspired me to play like this. You see some similarity. When you study a game, make sure that it impacts you in some way that you could apply it in your own game. That's the reason why you study. If you're studying and not using it there's no application, then you wasted your time studying a game, right? You study some line, you study some openings so that you can use them. But if you're an e4 player and you're studying d4, how does it help you? Because you're not going to use it anyway, right? So you study lines or openings or games that will impact you. For example, how to do that? You choose a hero. I'm not propagating hero worship here, but you choose a hero, somebody who is a great player. You study their game. And you will see that later when we keep studying their game, it rubs on you. Right? You will become familiar with all the idea. For example, in the early 70s, a lot of players were captivated by Bobby Fischer. And you will notice that almost everyone who came from that era played e4. Just like Bobby, they played the Najdorf, and they played the King's Indian, just like Bobby. Suddenly, everybody is Bobby Fischer. That's because that's what we call hero worship. So you pick up somebody who is your favorite player, and you study their game, and then you apply them to your own game. So here is a game based on that previous game that I showed you. This one is played by Richard Reti against Sabieli Tartakover, Vienna, 1910. The game went like this, e4, similar to the game I played, c6, d4, d5. Now, like what I promised earlier, I played knight d2 in my game. Here, Richard Reti played knight c3. Now, very minor difference, but we should tackle this so that the class should understand. What is the difference between knight d2 and knight c3? Anyone?
You can't move the c4 pawn.
Very good. With the knight on c3, there's no way for you to move the c pawn For example, black doesn't have to capture an e4. If he switch to what we call a Gorgonidze type of system like g6, then the idea of bishop g7 will become very strong because the pawn requires protection from c3s. So black can always switch. Right? The Pearson brothers and sisters, the siblings, they played this line with g6. Am I right? They played the Gorgonidze system. They don't have to capture. So if you want to paste both line, the Caro-Kann proper and the Gorgonidze system, knight d2 is the more accurate move. So that after g6, later on you can have c3. Right? You neutralize that bishop on a g7. So very minor, very subtle, you know. It's not really important if black played capture anyway. So after capture, knight takes. So here we go back to the knight f6 Bronstein move. Remember in my game, what did I do here? I captured the knight, right?
Yeah.
Here, Richard Reti played queen d3, bringing out the queen, just like in my other game where I captured with the queen on d4, in the first game that I've shown earlier. Here, queen d3. Okay, modern theory consider this a very, it's not really good move anymore. At that time, 1910 it looks very strong. So black played e5. Okay, here, Tartakover, a very creative player himself, right? Probably the strongest amateur, he said. The book said that he's played for France. White captured, and Tartakover played this check, regaining the pawn with a tempo on the knight that is pinned by the king. However, it is white to move. Bishop. And after queen takes, we see now the threat, it backfires because after white castles, black cannot capture the knight because of rook e1 pinning king, and knight takes also is almost the same thing, right? Maybe rook e1, but something is much more deeper here after knight takes e4, which was played in the game. Anybody? After knight takes e4, because queen takes e4 it cannot be because of rook e1. Therefore, Tartakover captured the knight with the knight. So knight takes e4. But there is a sudden bolt from the sky. Anybody suggest? Looks like knight f3 looks good.
Queen takes
I was,
knight.
I was gonna say bishop f4 as a sacrifice.
Bishop f4, but queen takes with check.
Yeah, but then queen to d8.
Yeah, but there's a check first.
Oh.
So that's one tempo short. Almost! But that's the idea, good little man. So you should see, if you have that idea in mind, you should look at the position different. You have the good idea, but you have to, you know, work through it and find the correct sequence.
And would it be pawn?
Why not queen d8 check immediately?
Oh yeah, because when they take it, then you do.
You should switch the sequence of move with the same idea. That was your idea, right?
Yeah, it's a do stuff.
Queen d8 check. This is force. And now we have a double check. Where?
Bishop G6.
No,
five.
bishop a5.
Bishop g5 check. He cannot block the check because there's under check here as well. Right? Where does the king go?
C7.
c7. If e8, what happened? We have the Morphy mate on d8.
Yeah.
If c7,
D8 question. Back D8.
Oh, bishop d8.
bishop d8 is mate as well. So this is the inspiration to that game I played. Classic games, they are there for a reason. Study the classics. They become embedded at the back of your head. And on the right time, you can use the same concept, the same idea, the same principle. They're all, they are evergreens, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed the game this morning. 4 of them you learned. What a bargain! So, I hope to see all of you next Saturday again. Thank you so much. Okay.